Camera roll. Cool. All right. So I want to thank you guys for having me here today, and hopefully I can definitely deliver a lot of value to anybody that showed up or will show up throughout this presentation. I'm going to probably, present for like 40 minutes, but I like to make things interactive and answer your guys' questions or talk about certain topics that maybe, we can bring up that are relevant to for today. But I want to get a sense of the room before I make an introduction and get into the topic. I just want to get a sense for what majors you guys are studying. Is everybody here in just one particular major, like film and arts, or is it a mixed room? Like we got mass communications, music industry. Is it what, like more so the creative side, music engineering, or business, or both?
Right now we're learning more about like music theory at the moment.
Okay.
Later on down the line we'll start getting into more like the technical stuff.
Okay, so mass communication, what else? Okay, well, we could go with that. And I think it's going to be, what I'm going to present today, I believe, fits any field or industry in life, or at least most, right? But let me give a quick introduction. So my name is Matej Harangoza. I guess you could say I'm a serial entrepreneur, but right now what I'm mainly focusing on is technology in the music industry, which involves a lot of marketing. I'll get into it in a second. But I emigrated to the United States in 1995. I was 11, so my family, emigrated here. I came with them, my immediate family. And I'm from Slovakia originally, from Eastern Europe. So basically after communism was over in '89, after a couple of years, my dad decided that, we would have more opportunity here, and he basically moved us over here. I grew up after that in Maryland, in Howard County, which is definitely a big melting pot, in terms of my experience of what United States is or can be, depending on where you live at. And I went to high school there. Then I went to college. First, I went to a community college, which was like an honors program in Howard County Community College. And then I went to UMBC for engineering, mechanical engineering. I did drop out my third year. My dad definitely hated that. But I believe that my educational journey wasn't over, and I don't think it ever will be. I'm always striving to learn more. But I believe that as an entrepreneur, somebody that did not want to work for an establishment, I needed to just, accelerate what I was doing on my own, because I had to fund my own education, and the loans that I had to take out because I was not a citizen were much higher interest rates. And I'm figuring like, okay, well, if I'm going to be paying to teach myself, because that's what I ended up doing at UMBC, which was very valuable, but if I'm going to pay to teach myself, why not maybe use that money as a startup capital to maybe try something? So I went ahead and did that. We first got into real estate with a hint of technology, created a platform that allowed us to analyze properties in Baltimore in up-and-coming neighborhoods, or in neighborhoods where we can invest into boarded-up homes and resell them back to the community or to the entrepreneurs there so they can rebuild them and improve the community. Then, after the collapse of the market in 2008, we got into energy efficiency. That was one of my most successful companies. It had a good 8-year run. We were, I guess, at the right place at the right time around Washington, D.C., which was heavily subsidized by the Obama administration with a lot of capital to basically replicate what California was doing in Maryland. So that's a company we built from 0 to 60 employees plus, had a very good run for 8 years. And throughout all that, I was always the CTO, focusing on the technology, the systems, the automation to help us scale and things like that. But somewhere along the lines when, I had a little bit more time, money was good, I always wanted to be in the music industry. So in around 2013, I had the time and the money to sort of get into it sort of as a hobbyist initially. I built up a studio, spent too much money on equipment, so I turned it into a studio, hired a couple engineers. And in the early days, primarily from 2015 to 2018, I invested some money behind artists and learned, spent $40,000 on learning what not to do, which was a very valuable time. And I'm fortunate that I was able to sort of afford that loss, because I consider that my college education now to be able to succeed in the music industry. But to make a long story short, after we had to shut down Renew It for various reasons, I had a choice that I was either going to have to work for somebody and figure out what I was going to do in life, or was I going to take that negative experience of basically losing a company, had to shut it down, as a positive, so to speak, and build on that learning. So I, against everything that everybody was telling me in terms of family and friends, I just continued to be an entrepreneur. I had connections from before, building software for Renew It, where I partnered up with my business partners in India. We built a software company which now has close to 60 employees. We do maintain software in the platforms for clients like Victoria's Secret, Goodyear, Procter & Gamble brands in Canada. And also, this was like a 2017 time period, I decided to full-time get into the music industry. And I always wanted to build a music incubator or accelerator for artists to understand the business, so on and so forth, which ended up turning into a marketing company. I do have an accelerator/incubator component, but that's kind of been the journey. But I would say that these two companies that I'm running full-time now are probably company number 14, 15, like legal LLCs, put it that way. So it's definitely been a journey, and I want to pass everything that I've learned on to anybody that's in college or younger that aims to be an entrepreneur or wants to get into the creative space or any type of industry, because I think it's very valuable. Because me being here as a kid that came from another country, had no connections, we didn't have any family members here, I don't really have any guidance, especially even how to get from high school to college, why choose a certain major, what to do after college, what to do with that education, so on and so forth. I had to build everything from scratch. So hopefully I can give some of that knowledge to you guys and share that here today, and then talk about a bunch of other topics. But considering that you guys are mostly in sort of creative space, and I guess mass communication could be what? You could be politician, PR person, is that correct? Photographer, videographer, okay. So you're in the creative industry, let's put it that way, right? As opposed to being in real estate or a doctor. What I found in the creative industry is that it could be very, very lucrative. A lot of people love it because it's appealing and it's fun to be creative. It's fun to do video editing. It's fun to be a musician, a lot of those things. But it's also super, super competitive. I don't think I found an industry that's more competitive than the music industry or the film industry, so to speak, and other creative aspects. And compared to the other industries that I had experience in, like being a real estate agent, being in energy efficiency, even working on software with major companies, there's really no standards in the creative industry, right? Like there's no, like in real estate, you have to be a licensed real estate agent. You have to upkeep your license every year. You have to pay these costs, continued education. Even in software, there are certain standards when it comes to development on different browsers and things like that. The industry was able to standardize, right? In energy efficiency, there was a lot of oversight from the government. We had government agencies overseeing the jobs we were doing in multifamily buildings and all of that. In the music industry or in film, it doesn't really exist. It's the Wild Wild West. That's why I believe that in 2023 and beyond, if you do want to succeed in these creative industries and you want to sort of control your destiny or build your business, you're going to have to learn the business besides having the creative part down packed. Or you're going to have to become an employee, which is, easier or harder depending on what particular creative industry you're in. Like let's say you're in film or a photographer and things like that. Maybe it's easier to, get a job that you can work for a company strictly just doing that, and everything else, in terms of business is done there. But in the music industry, if you want to, everybody wants to have their own label. Everybody wants to own their own masters. These words are thrown around, but people don't really understand what that means, right? Like owning your own masters. Okay, you're going to own 100% of either nothing if you don't know how to market and run a music business or a music label, or you can own 20% of $10 million eventually, right? So you have to choose and understand how to get to those things. And that's why I have this chart. So we're going to get into that, which I call the 90-10 rule. And before I get into that, I want to say that one thing I learned in life is that nothing is absolute. Meaning that, just because you get a college education degree doesn't mean you're going to get a job. Just because, people say, well, always do this or never do that. I always try to stay away from those words. I never try to use never, and I never try to say always. What I've figured out is that life is based on percentages. You know, there's so many variables in every decision you can make, so many variables in every kind of endeavor that you want to partake in. It doesn't have to be just one thing or another. You don't have to just do this for 10,000 hours. You know, they say the 10,000 hour rule, you become an expert. You know, like expand your mind, because there are two theories out there. You can either do something from like, you know, age 9 and that's the only thing you focus on, and maybe you become one of the best in the world and the prodigy. But there's also another path. You can taste a lot of different things in life. You can, you know, be experienced in business, run multiple businesses, or, you know, try and fail in businesses, be also creative, do this and that, and maybe later in life you find yourself kind of like how I did in a way, and figure out like, wow, all this aggregate learning that I've done, it's now actually allowing me to do what I truly want. And you know, it's not that I wasn't happy doing everything else before, because I just love learning, so it worked out. But I want to say that before we get into any topic, is that nothing in life is absolute. I don't want you to look at it that way. There's always a opportunity, at least in America, to communicate, to negotiate, to sort of, you know, kind of mold your own destiny if you work hard and open your mind and, you know, sort of start understanding why you need to learn other things. So, high school, college, but right now, out of all those 9, 11 members that they had, if Method Man puts out an album, he'll probably sell 1 million copies, because he's out there in the spotlight. He's an actor, he's a business owner, he's constantly doing stuff. But all the other members, even though there may be better rappers in that group, if You Got or Ghostface Killah puts out an album, he may not even sell 5,000 copies in today's age without marketing. You know what I'm saying? So all those elements fall in there. So again, the naiveness of an artist believing that their talent is going to take them to the next level could be detrimental to their career. So you have to be very careful with that. You have to open your mind, and you can't be too conceited or narcissistic about what your abilities are, especially in the creative. There's too much competition out there, and somebody will always outwork you, right? And then we'll get to that other example, which somebody may start with mediocre talent, but can surpass somebody very fast. Well, why is that? Is because they have that different mindset. They're willing to learn and listen, and most importantly, they're willing to fail. One thing that I could tell you that got me to where I'm at today is because I got comfortable with failing. You know, and I've read this in many different books. A lot of successful entrepreneurs say, fail as often and as fast as possible. And why is that? Because if you have the right mindset, the fail is just a lesson. It's like going to school. It's like doing exercises and lessons. In the real world, through practice, you will fail a lot, and it's okay. Have the right mindset as long as you communicate, you know, in a good way and improve your communication constantly, which is something I'm always working on and try to work on, especially as English being my third language. You can have graceful fails, right? Because you can communicate with the people around you that were part of that fail, or if, you know, you failed a customer or a client, you can, you know, communicate your way out of it so they don't sue you or hate you, or, you know, somebody's coming after you. So that's a huge quality that you have to have, constantly improving and failing. Again, understanding the business landscape, keeping up with the innovation in the business, right? Like, look at what's going on in the creative world. We have AI. I mean, even before that, because I've been in this for a long time. My sister went to Drexel University in Philly for graphic design. Super, super talented when it comes to creating packaging for companies and the graphic design aspect. She's an awesome painter and all of that. And she was very upset when platforms like Fiverr started coming online, because you can outsource that talent to India, Pakistan, Nigeria, Ghana for 1/10 of the cost, and as long as they know how to communicate, those contractors, you could achieve the same type of product. And then people in the US or Western Europe, they're like, well, I can't compete with that. No, you can. But now you have to figure out how to use that to your advantage, because that's the innovation. Okay, maybe you become the lead director or graphic designer of your own firm, and you outsource and you train how to properly work with clients and deliver the, you know, creative product, video editing, whatever you're doing, and you utilize Fiverr to your advantage. And next thing you know, you've got a company of 20, but you're still the lead designer. You could still do what you're passionate about, you know, because especially if you grow the business, you can hire the HR, the legal, and all that as you expand. But that's one way of looking at it, right? Right now, what's going on with AI? And ChatGPT, it's a language model, but I forgot the exact names of the ones that like can create images. There's AI in music. Well, I interview a lot of DJs and executives all the time, and some people, which I have a inkling that they may not be around for 5 years, the ones that are resisting the change, they may get sort of outworked by the other artists and DJs and producers that are embracing it. For example, let's say you're an audio engineer and there's AI software that can help you mix. If you have a lot of great skills in understanding how to mix, how to EQ music, compress it, and all the elements of doing audio engineering, well, guess what? Maybe you can train AI your mixing style, your chain of what comes first, EQ, compressor, gate, whatever. You could train AI to do that. So utilize it, and guess what? Now you can get more clients, right? Because all the engineers that I know that are in the industry, audio engineers that is, they battle with, well, how can I make more money? Because every time they make money, they have to be in front of the studio console and work. So they literally they trade time for money. That's only scalable to 24 hours a day, 365 days a week, that you cap out of that if you don't sleep, right? So utilize AI to that advantage. If you're a graphic designer or a photographer, and again, you can automate AI, or you can buy 3 drones, right? So instead of having a crew of photographers going to a political event or something like that, okay, maybe learn the technology, understand how to pitch your service, and when you go to a political event or something like that, you can get drones approved and things like that. May not be the greatest example, but if you can get it approved, now you got automated drones that you program to take pictures from different angles, and it's just you controlling everything and taking pictures, and you got sort of 3 workers, right? Because you're gonna have to adapt somehow. So what I'm trying to tell you guys is that don't resist the change. Get with the change. That's the only thing I can recommend, My title at my company, Grenew, which was the energy efficiency one, was Chief Innovation Officer, even though I was like the CTO technically. But the reason I came up with that is because there was a lot of, again, resistance to change in the industry from the government standpoint of how they received our data, from the energy audits that we did, how it was processed. They wanted everything scanned, everything was on paper and all of that. And I automated as much of it as possible through technology, and that's why we were so successful much faster, because we didn't have to have as much overhead to do the same jobs that our competitors in Maryland were doing at the time. That's what helped us scale so fast. But also because we were young, that's what also sort of made us fail at the end, because we were not diversified enough, and we depended on the government, sort of assistance to spur that industry. That was like the real reason why the company failed. But what I'm saying is that me being able to innovate taught me a lot. I was able to figure out how to outsource software development overseas and how to become better at that. And none of this training I got from school. What I got from school, which I'm very fortunate that I did go to school for mechanical engineering, is I taught myself how to teach myself. And engineering, I think science is STEM. If I can recommend anything, or if you want to, start learning on your own time besides the creative, another subject, learn science. All science, physics, biology, math, whatever goes into it, because at least engineering taught me how to enjoy solving problems. And that's going to be the last thing that I kind of end with, because every entrepreneur, every successful person that I've met, if I had to pick one quality about them that really allowed them to get to that level, and is going to continue allowing them to probably reach higher levels, is that they enjoy solving problems. And I think the engineering major did that for me. Even though I'm struggling there, freshman, sophomore in college, physics 101, physics 201, those are difficult subjects, thermodynamics, differential equations. I hated it. But little did I know that as I'm training my mind to solve these problems, even though it's just for a grade, just to get that B so I can get to the next semester and all of that, I've realized now that was a blessing, because one thing I found about a lot of people that I work with, they just don't like solving problems. They get anxiety when they face a problem, and when you get anxious, your whole physiology, like your whole biology changes. You just kind of like shut down, and you can't perform and excel when your body shuts down and goes into depression mode, so to speak, right? And that happens to a lot of people. I've noticed that about my friends, my family members. It's like if they don't know something, they just kind of just like shut down, and it doesn't allow them to progress, to take that risk, to potentially even fail. So solving problems, I don't care how you're gonna get to that or how you can train yourself. Like I said, engineering and science, that's what helped me. But solving problems is gonna be a quality that I think all of you are gonna have if you wanna succeed in anything you're doing, creatively as well, in my opinion. So those are sort of the two buckets. So don't be the talented, creative that's naive and is not willing to learn the industry, that's resisting the change of all this new the stuff that's coming on, because at best you may become an employee somewhere. Now look, there's nothing wrong with that. I know, again, if you do just want to edit all day and you work for a company that you love, that's completely fine. I think at the end of the day, it's about happiness, right? Like people say, do what you love. It's easier said than done. But at your age, when I was in college, I think I knew what I wanted to do, but not really. But what was good is that anything I thought I enjoyed, I got into and I tried it. And I either figured out or failed at it, figured out if I liked it or not. Some things, of course, we had to do for money. Like it wasn't, in high school, I wanted to own a record label. That was my thing I was really passionate about. I didn't want to be a real estate agent. I didn't think I was going to build a company in energy efficiency. That's not what I would wake up and dream about. But I think what I enjoyed was that solving problems. So having good business partners around me, and we're building something that we own that actually benefited our community, our state, and all of that, it was enjoyable, and it got me through it, and that was part of it. So being an employee is okay, right? But if you want to take things into control a little bit more, have those qualities that I talked about. And that goes for employment as well, because a lot of people, again, you don't have to start out being an entrepreneur. I think another way to get to be an entrepreneur is working for a company for a long time, understanding in and out how it works, how they get clients and all of that. And hey, you could be 45 and separate and then start a company because you absorbed all that knowledge, and now you have enough of understanding, passion, and all of that to say, you know what, I'm going to separate and do it on my own. So there's so many different ways to get to it, especially in the creative. There's like 1,001 different ways to make it. But again, I think it's those initial qualities that will just help you accelerate whatever you enjoy. Or you may find out after you get this degree that you're here for that, you know what, I don't even enjoy it anymore. That's fine. That experience that you got through here, the discipline that you learn to study, to make sure you get a B or A, to pass, to be disciplined, to move through semester to semester to semester to complete something, that alone has value in it if you look at it that way.